guy that was right before him, he and I are the only guys in here, I think, wearing a cowboy hat. Well, I see one more guy back in the back. But Troy is really a good friend, and but he and Mac, well, they both went to ASU, and Tommy was a good baseball player. He was a catcher, and in softball he was a catcher, and he used to dread catching when I would pitch. He kind of always he'd rather catch Ted because he didn't know where my ball was going. But first of all, I'd like to talk a little bit about Lillian and Judy, Troy's wife. I tell you, they're two wonderful ladies, and they are calm, cool, collect, and I don't know how. Ted's looking at me already funny. I told you about that, Lillian. See, he's looking at me already. But anyway, both of them, I don't know how in the world. Troy must have got down on his knees and just begged and prayed as hard as he could to get Judy to marry him. And Ted, I don't know, Lillian, she's so calm and cool, and I don't know what you did there, but Ted and I go back a long ways. We used to meet at the old post office on Main Street, and we kind of figured out that Lillian wouldn't know what we were doing if he said he was going to the post office, and I showed up there at the post office. We'd both have our shotguns, and then we would just take off from there. And Lillian, that's actually all Ted's setup deal. You know, I just followed along. And that time that you kicked me out of the house, when we came home with all the quail, and I was expecting to get a quail dinner deluxe, and I got my butt kicked right out of the house. And her exact words to me were, "Why don't you leave my husband alone and go get a life?" She showed me the door, and oh, a wife. I must have messed up because I thought it was a life. But anyway, she's a wonderful person, and when I came here, I was late today, and I think that's probably the only time in my life that I've ever been late when I was around this guy, because if you all know, he's always late, and I think most of his family's probably that way too. They're pretty kicked back, and Ted, I don't think Teddy was that way, but Jeff, he's kind of kicked back, but I remember a time when we went hunting and went down on the river, down on Tonto Creek, and that's when my grandmother lived there, and we went up on Neal Mountain hunting pigs. And Ted, he was, I taught him a valuable lesson though. I taught him to always keep 4 or 5 shells in his pocket and not tell me about them. But there was this cliff. We were going up a cliff, and pretty steep, and there's a bunch of pigs up there, and I hope there's no officers of the law in here, but I think the statute of limitations might have run out. But I emptied my gun, and naturally I looked down, and Ted was still crawling up the cliff. And so I thought, well, you know, he's not going to get here in time to shoot these pigs. So I told him, I said, let me help you up. He's down there about 15, 20 feet, still crawling, and he got up where he could hand me his gun, and I took his gun. And he was still crawling around on that hillside, and I thought, well, hell, he's not going to get here in time. I might as well shoot. So I emptied his gun. when he got up to the top of the cliff and wanted to do some shooting, I said, them pigs would run up that canyon. And he said, and you don't have any more shells. And he was kind of humped up about it. He was kind of mad about it. Yeah, he's kind of probably still a little bit mad about that. But anyway, I just wanted to tell that story. And then, of course, Tommy, I have to tell one on the MC. We were down fishing at San Carlos Lake, and actually Ted put me up to this too, Tommy. I never have told you that, but here it is, right here, the quiet guy. But yeah, the guy in the middle. And I was catching some bass and using a purple worm, and Tommy, he has a little trouble with his glasses at night and the light shining and stuff, and it was night fishing, and Tommy goes, what color are you using, Mac? And I said, well, I'm using a red worm. Boy, I heard him rummaging around down through there, and pretty soon I looked back there and he had all of his lures out in the bottom of the boat, and he was looking for a red worm. And he said, I don't have any of those red worms after about 30 minutes. And he had already taken off a couple more fish for me. And so he said, won't you loan me one of them red worms? And I said, well, I don't have any left either. And pretty quick, I had him take off another fish, and he finally wised up, and he looked to see what kind of worm I had. And it was a purple worm. I had a whole bunch of them in my deal, and of course Tommy, he was looking for that red worm. Never did find one that night. But he's been mad about that ever since too, sort of. But Ted has done a lot of things for the people of Payson. He's been here a long time. I remember just getting out of school and actually, Ted and I become friends as soon as he moved to Payson. I don't know, he's just out of college, I believe. How many children did you have when you moved to Payson?
6 months. No, she was pregnant.
Oh, she was pregnant with Teddy, yeah. That was why you were irritable and kicked me out of the house then, wasn't it? It was Teddy's fault. But Ted and I have been friends for ever since I graduated from high school, and he came as a coach, and there was that rule actually. I followed the team around for a couple years, and Ted used to have to take up for me because they thought I was part of the team, but I wasn't. I was just there to watch. Some of the coaches didn't like it because I was even sitting in the audience, but Ted's done a lot. He's the first mayor of Payson. And Lillian, when you kicked me out of the house that night in front of Ted, you didn't know he was going to become the first mayor, did you? No, she's got to think about that one. And I don't think she thought I would ever be a mayor. Did you know you were talking to two mayors when you did that? She probably doesn't give a damn. I'm sure she didn't that night. But I thought I was just going to have a real good quail dinner, and I don't think Ted got a quail dinner that night either. But we have done a lot together. We own a place up in Canada and have done a lot of fishing up there together, and have traveled, kind of traveled all over Canada fishing, didn't we? And they're great people to travel with. And Tommy, one thing I heard, well, I heard it from Ted. That might have been Lillian. No, it wasn't from Lillian. But I heard it took you 30 or 40 years and you finally got a Letterman's jacket. But I don't know what that's all about. But that's a side joke, I guess, between Tommy and Ted. You didn't think I knew that, did you? But there's probably a lot of more hunting stories that that I could tell. About Ted and I, but some of them the statute of limitations haven't ran out, so I can't tell those. But I'd just like to wish Ted, if he's gonna, I think he's gonna be retired about like I'm retired. Hopefully he stays active in the community because he's done a lot for the Payson area. He's done a lot for the school system. He's done a lot for the town of Payson and surrounding areas. He's, you know, I used to have a driver also. I wanted to mention that one of the drivers that I had when I was a young man, and I had an old car, but I had this driver, and you know, his name was Norman Dudley, and he used to drive me to all the places that I'd want to go, and take me home, and really took care of me. But actually, all of us, Tom, Ted, and Dennis, and I see Sharky Baker out there. I got to talk to Sharky tonight, and there was one other thing that I wanted to mention that was Ted's fault, Lillian. You know, it's his night, and I have to tell the truth. So, you know, the night that we all went to play softball in Miami way back when, and Ted got in some deep trouble, right? Yeah, he says no, but he knows he's probably in trouble again tonight. But we were playing softball, and we decided to visit one of the local places in Miami, Arizona, and Ted's oldest son was, I don't know how old he was, but he was plenty young to sit out in the vehicle and wait for us, and then some things happened inside there that I think it was Boyd Peace and actually John Chilson, I think, maybe. And anyway, we all kind of had a lot of fun that night, and the boys got left out in the car, and I think one of the boys slipped up and said something to Lillian, and Ted was in trouble for quite a while. Yeah, he says, yeah. But there's a lot of things that have happened, a lot of good things, a lot of good times, and Tommy was mentioning the snow and the floods and all of those things. We all went through those things together pretty much, and I was working with the sheriff's office at that time, and that brings up another story about my friend Tom Meck. Actually, it was Ted's fault. Ted came to me and said, Tommy would like to become a deputy sheriff. And I said, okay, for you, we'll give him a shot. And remember that, Ted? And so we gave Tommy a shot, and I think he was a coach at that time, and needed a side job and needed more money and had a family and all that kind of stuff, and so one of the first things that I had him out on was some guy had driven off the edge of the rim up there, and he was down in a canyon, and we were looking for him, and it was winter time, and I didn't know any other way to do this but put Tommy on the hood of the patrol car. And he looked like a hood ornament up there, actually. But he was on the hood of the patrol car, and I drive real close to the edge out here. And Tommy, instead of looking over, he'd be going like that, you know. And I finally yelled at him out the window. I said, "You got to look over the canyon. You can't lean back like that. You got." And he's all white knuckled, and he's got the windshield wiper pulled off, and when he went back to his wife after that.